All right, so let's dive into this whole DeepSeek thing. It's January 28th, 2025, and this new AI chatbot coming out of China is really making some waves in the financial world.
Definitely causing a stir.
Yeah.
Yeah, strategist Ed Yardeni called it a gray swan event. Not totally unexpected.
Right,
But
not a black swan.
exactly. But the ripple effects are
Huge.
definitely big.
So set the scene for us.
Uh-huh.
The market's just closed. What are we looking at?
Okay, well, the S&P 500 dipped a bit, ending at 5,999.
Okay.
The Dow closed at 44,673, and the Nasdaq took a bit of a hit, closing at 19,311.
Ouch.
Yeah, the Russell 2000 actually managed to eke out a small gain, closing at 2,288.
Okay, interesting.
But the real story here is how this DeepSeek is shaking up the tech sector.
Yeah, and that has implications for, like, everyone, really.
Yeah.
Even if you and I aren't directly investing in tech.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. DeepSeek is pushing the boundaries of what AI can do.
Right.
Companies in all sectors are trying to figure out how to integrate this technology.
Yeah,
And that's leading to a lot of uncertainty and volatility in the markets.
for sure. And one of the things that I think is so interesting about DeepSeek is this divide it's creating between different types of hedge funds.
Yeah, you're talking about the systematic funds versus the human-driven funds.
Exactly. The performance gap is pretty striking.
It really is. The systematic funds, the ones driven by algorithms, are riding this wave of volatility.
Yeah, they're like surfers.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the human-driven funds, they're having a tougher time.
It's like they're getting wiped out. Yeah.
Hmm.
So help me understand this. Why are the algorithms having such a good time while humans are struggling?
It boils down to speed and adaptability. The systematic funds can react to market shifts in milliseconds,
Wow.
exploiting these tiny discrepancies in pricing and capitalizing on those fleeting opportunities that volatility creates.
Right.
Humans, with all of our experience and intuition, we just can't match that kind of rapid-fire response.
Yeah, it's like the robots are taking over Wall Street.
Well, not so fast.
Okay.
While this whole DeepSeek situation has definitely highlighted the power of algorithmic trading, human insight and judgment are still essential,
Okay.
especially for navigating those nuances and complexities that AI still can't quite grasp.
So it's not really one replacing the other. It's more like
It's about finding that balance.
an hybrid approach.
Exactly. Combining that speed and precision of algorithms with the strategic thinking and risk assessment of human experts.
Interesting.
That seems to be the direction the industry is heading in.
Now, there's been this initial shock to the tech sector, but some people seem to be optimistic about the long-term prospects.
Right. There is this cautious optimism. Because remember, DeepSeek has fueled a lot of excitement and investment in AI.
Sure.
Some analysts believe that this could lead to a wave of innovation and growth that could benefit the tech sector as a whole.
So short-term pain, long-term gain kind of thing.
Potentially. And even within the tech sector, there are pockets of resilience.
Oh, really? Like what?
For example, non-AI chip companies.
Okay.
They are actually seen as a safe haven right now. Well, DeepSeek is driving demand for very specialized AI chips, but the rest of the tech industry still relies heavily on traditional chips for a wide range of products.
Right.
These non-AI chip companies, they're less exposed to the immediate disruption that DeepSeek is causing.
So they're more attractive to investors who are looking for stability.
Exactly.
So even within one sector like tech, you have these different subsectors reacting in different ways.
It's not just tech is up or tech is down. It's much more nuanced than that.
Right. Now, speaking of nuance, what about the semiconductor sector? I know that Nvidia and other chip makers initially took a bit of a hit.
They did, as investors sort of reacted to this DeepSeek news.
Yeah, but now analysts are saying maybe that sell-off was an overreaction.
Some analysts are even predicting a rebound
Oh, really?
as the market adjusts and as that longer-term potential of AI becomes more clear.
So this could be a buying opportunity.
Some analysts certainly think so. They see this dip as a chance to pick up some quality chip stocks at a discount, anticipating that surge in demand that will be driven by the continued development and integration of AI.
Yeah, you got to spot those opportunities in the chaos. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. How are other sectors holding up amidst all of this DeepSeek drama?
Well, the energy sector, for one, has been pretty stable. Oil prices have kind of settled down.
Okay, so some relief at the gas pump.
Right. But what about that shift towards renewable energy?
Yeah. Is that impacting the big oil and gas companies?
It is, but many of those companies are proving to be surprisingly resilient.
Really?
They're adapting, they're investing in renewable energy projects,
Okay.
and they're integrating sustainable practices into their operations.
So they're not just dinosaurs waiting for the meteor to hit.
Not at all. They are evolving and they are finding ways to remain relevant in this new energy landscape.
Okay, good for them.
Mm.
Now, what about the financial sector?
Well, they're feeling the pressure a bit more acutely.
Yeah, I bet. With all this talk about interest rate hikes, I imagine banks and other institutions are a little on edge.
For sure, because interest rates are a huge driver of profitability in the financial sector.
Right.
These anticipated rate hikes could boost bank earnings, but there are also risks, especially for firms that are carrying a lot of debt.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Exactly. The impact of these interest rate hikes will vary depending on the firm's specific circumstances,
Yeah.
their risk profile, and their ability to adapt to the changing market conditions.
So it's a mixed bag for the financial sector. Some potential winners, some potential losers.
Yeah.
Sounds like staying informed is more important than ever.
Absolutely. And remember, DeepSeek's impact is global. We're seeing ripple effects across international markets as well.
Yeah, give us a sense of that. What are you seeing in Europe and Asia?
In Europe, you're seeing a real mix of responses.
Like what?
Well, Germany, for example, with its focus on manufacturing, they're feeling the pressure as supply chains and global trade get disrupted.
Okay.
But France, with its burgeoning tech sector, they're actually seeing some gains as investors look for opportunities outside of the immediate DeepSeek epicenter.
So even within a region, you see these variations.
Exactly.
What about Asia?
The big focus there is on how governments and central banks are going to react to this new landscape.
Yeah.
We're seeing a variety of policy adjustments as they try to navigate the economic uncertainty and capitalize on the potential opportunities that AI is presenting.
So with all this activity, with DeepSeek disrupting industries and markets reacting and governments kind of scrambling to adjust, what's the overall outlook?
Well, I'd say the general consensus is cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
While that short-term volatility is likely to continue,
Yeah.
the underlying economic fundamentals, especially in the U.S., remain strong.
Okay, that's good to hear.
We're seeing continued strength in the labor market,
Right.
and consumer spending remains healthy.
Okay,
These factors suggest that the economy is well-positioned to weather the storm.
that's good. But what about inflation? That's been a big concern.
It's definitely a factor, but
Yeah.
with some strategic adjustments, it should be manageable.
In what way?
Well, the Federal Reserve has been steadily raising interest rates to cool down the economy and bring inflation under control.
Right.
It's a delicate balancing act, though.
Yeah.
Raising rates too quickly could stifle economic growth,
Okay.
but moving too slowly could allow inflation to get even more entrenched.
Just it's a high-stakes game of economic chess.
Exactly. And the stakes are even higher with DeepSeek adding this extra layer of complexity.
So the message here is buckle up, stay informed, and maybe learn to code.
Well, maybe not everyone needs to learn to code, but the key is adaptability, a willingness to learn, and a proactive approach to navigating this evolving landscape.
So it's not about being fearless. It's about being informed and empowered to make those smart decisions.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to challenge your assumptions and explore new ideas. DeepSeek is showing us that even in this world of data and algorithms, human ingenuity and adaptability are more important than ever.
I think that's a great place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground,
We have.
but there's still so much more to explore.
Indeed. We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive into DeepSeek.
Until then, stay curious and keep those minds engaged.
Definitely.
You know, it's amazing how one event can really turn the financial world upside down.
Yeah.
Like just a few weeks ago, DeepSeek was just this intriguing new development. And now it feels like the ground is shifting under our feet.
It shows how interconnected everything is. DeepSeek launches in China, and we feel it everywhere.
Yeah, from Wall Street to Main Street.
Exactly. And I think what's interesting is that even with that initial shock, experts seem cautiously optimistic about the long-term economic outlook.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. I'm curious to dig into that. What are they basing that optimism on?
Well, the U.S. economy in particular is showing some real resilience. The labor market is strong. Unemployment is at historic lows.
That's great.
And consumer spending, which is a key driver of growth, that's still healthy. So these are all factors that suggest the economy has a pretty solid foundation to weather this current storm.
Okay, that is good news. But with AI disrupting so many industries, are there any sectors that seem particularly vulnerable right now?
Well, there are definitely some sectors that are feeling the heat more than others.
Okay.
Transportation and logistics, for example.
Yeah.
The rise of autonomous vehicles and drones.
Yeah.
That's creating a lot of uncertainty in that industry.
Yeah.
We're already seeing concerns about job displacement and the need for retraining.
Right. It's not just about market trends and stock prices. It's about real people's jobs and their livelihoods.
Exactly. And it really highlights the need for proactive policies
Right.
to address those challenges, like investing in education and retraining
For sure.
to help people adapt to these new jobs of the future.
Okay, now switching gears a bit, I want to get your perspective on the cryptocurrency market. We touched on Bitcoin and Ethereum briefly earlier, but how are DeepSeek and all this tech disruption impacting crypto?
Well, the crypto market is always a roller coaster.
That's one way to put it.
And DeepSeek has definitely thrown in another loop-de-loop. Some analysts think that AI could actually enhance blockchain technology,
Okay.
which could lead to wider adoption of cryptocurrencies. But then others are worried that all this volatility we're seeing in the tech sector,
Right.
that could spill over into crypto and cause even more wild price swings.
So a bit of a mixed bag for crypto.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's definitely a space to watch closely.
Now, another topic that's on everyone's mind is inflation. It's been a concern for a while now. So what's the latest and how are policymakers addressing it?
Well, inflation is still a major headache for central banks around the world.
I bet.
The Federal Reserve here in the U.S. has been raising interest rates gradually,
Right.
trying to cool the economy down and get inflation under control.
Okay.
But it's a tough balancing act.
Yeah.
If they raise rates too aggressively, it could really stifle economic growth.
Right.
And if they move too slowly, then inflation could spiral out of control.
It's a high wire act.
Definitely. And, the global implications of these decisions are huge.
Are other central banks around the world on the same page as the Fed?
Not necessarily. We're actually seeing a bit of a divergence in monetary policy globally.
No. Okay.
Some central banks, especially in emerging markets, they're facing different economic conditions.
Right. Okay.
And they're taking a more cautious approach to raising rates.
Okay.
And these different strategies can create volatility in currency markets and impact global trade.
So we've got this really complex web of interconnected factors influencing the global economy. It sounds like having a grasp on both the local and global economic trends is more important than ever.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, for making informed decisions.
Absolutely. And, that's why we do these deep dives.
Right.
To help listeners connect those dots and understand the bigger picture.
For sure. Okay, so we've touched on a lot of different aspects of this DeepSeek phenomenon. Is there anything you'd like to emphasize or add before we move on to our final thoughts?
I think it's important to remember that even though the financial markets can seem really daunting, especially with all this complexity and uncertainty,
Yeah.
knowledge is power. The more you understand about these forces shaping the market, the better decisions you'll make.
Makes sense.
So read widely, listen to podcasts like this one, and, engage in conversations with experts and your peers.
Great advice. Knowledge is power for sure.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think another key point is diversification. We've talked about it with investment portfolios,
Right.
but it also applies to your skill set.
Okay.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
Explore new areas, develop new skills, and, be adaptable as the job market changes.
So spread your risk not just financially, but intellectually as well. That's a really good point.
And finally, don't underestimate the power of human connection. In this increasingly digital world building, strong relationships with mentors, colleagues, thought leaders,
Yeah.
that can provide you with invaluable insights, support, and guidance.
It's true. Sometimes the best insights come from those face-to-face conversations that algorithms just can't replicate.
Exactly. That human element, that ability to connect and empathize and collaborate, that's what sets us apart in a world where technology is becoming more and more dominant.
So stay informed, diversify, and nurture those human connections. Those are great takeaways for our listeners to think about as they navigate this crazy world we're living in.
Absolutely. And one final thought to leave you with. Don't be afraid to experiment. Take calculated risks and step outside of your comfort zone. It's in those moments of exploration that we often find the most rewarding opportunities.
That's a great message. So to our listeners, embrace the unknown, stay curious, and never stop learning. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one making waves in this new world shaped by DeepSeek and the rise of AI.
I love that.
Okay, I think it's time to move on to our final thoughts. What are some key takeaways you want to leave our listeners with today?
Well, welcome back to the final part of our DeepSeek deep dive.
It has been quite a journey exploring this gray swan event and all its ripple effects across the financial world.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot, haven't we? Market reactions, sector analysis, global implications. It can feel a little overwhelming, honestly.
It's understandable. The sheer pace of change and all the information coming at us. It can be a bit daunting.
Yeah, but that's exactly why we do these deep dives.
Right, to help make sense of it all.
Exactly,
Yeah,
to help you cut through the noise and focus on what really matters.
exactly. So what are some of the key takeaways for our listeners? What can they actually do with all this information?
The most important thing, I think, is a shift in our mindset. Instead of seeing this rapid change as a threat, we need to see it as an opportunity. DeepSeek, for all the uncertainty it's created, also gives us a chance to reassess
Wait, that's what?
our strategies, our investments, even our careers.
Okay, I like that. Reframing it as an opportunity instead of being scared of it.
Right, so what does that look like in practice?
Yeah, what can our listeners actually do?
First, stay informed. The more you understand about these forces shaping the market, the better decisions you can make.
Makes sense.
So that means reading a lot, listening to podcasts like this one,
Of course.
and talking to experts and your peers.
Okay, knowledge is power.
What else?
Second, diversify.
Okay.
We've talked about it with investment portfolio.
Right. Spreading your risk.
But it also applies to your skill set.
Okay.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Explore new areas, develop new skills,
Yeah.
and be adaptable as the job market keeps evolving.
So spread your risk financially, but intellectually as well.
That's it.
That's a really good point.
Hmm.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes. Don't underestimate human connection. In this digital world building, strong relationships with mentors, colleagues, thought leaders that can give you invaluable insights, support, and guidance.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes the best insights come from those conversations that algorithms just can't replicate.
Exactly. It's that human element,
Yeah.
connecting, empathizing, collaborating. That's what will set us apart as technology becomes even more advanced. Okay, so stay informed, diversify and nurture those human connections.
Mm.
Those are some really great points for our listeners to keep in mind
Absolutely.
as they navigate this world that seems to be changing faster than ever.
And one final thought I want to leave you with.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to experiment. Take some calculated risks. Step outside your comfort zone. It's in those moments of exploration and discovery that we often find the most rewarding opportunities.
That is a great message. So to our listeners out there, embrace the unknown, stay curious, and never stop learning. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one making waves in this new world shaped by DeepSeek and AI.
It's an exciting time.
It is.
Well-
I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive into DeepSeek.
It does.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I really appreciate your insights.
Well, thank you for having me.
And to all our listeners out there, stay engaged. Keep those minds sharp. And until next time, happy investing.